Okay, today what we're going to have a look at is the air reverse and in particular air maneuvers, and we're going to talk about the necessity for you to include those into your competition repertoire. I know that a lot of you can do these air reverses, but what I want to talk about is what judges are actually looking for in the performing of an air reverse or an aerial maneuver. In many cases, we've still got to look at performing these in critical sections of the wave. And the other thing that we need to look at is completing those with both speed, power, and control. The other thing that the head judge of the WCT was speaking about recently to me was the fact that there needs to be an element of surprise. So therefore, those people who race sections and finally get their little air in at the end, there's nothing surprising about that. And I guess the new age air reverse is a bit like the old school roundhouse cutback. Everyone can do them. And so therefore, you really have to make sure it's big. You have to make sure it's powerful. You make sure it's done in a critical section with control. So they're the things and the elements I'm going to look at. In a minute, I'm going to break down this particular air reverse from Julian Wilson. So we look at it one more time. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is the entry point at which Julian attacks this air. So let's have a bit of a look here. We go along, come along here. Now have a look at that. It's not right off the bottom. It's come with a slightly different angle. It's not that acute till he gets his foot above there. So if I have a look at that angle there of his board, I guess, you know, it's not as vertical as what I would expect if he was hitting a vertical re-entry, for example. Now what we're going to look at is the fact that his foot actually loses a little bit of pressure there on the front foot there as he gets the foot back above the lip line, and there's a lot more pressure there on the back foot. So if I look at that pressure there, that's where the pressure is at the moment. He's taken the pressure off the front foot, which is going to allow him therefore to rotate his surfboard from the tail. Okay, so watch now as he rotates through. Nice rotation. Watch how he grabs his rail, and there's a reason he does that. And I want to talk about that for a moment. Okay, the reason he's actually grabbed his rail, and if we look at that there, he's going to bring the board back around and rotate through. And he's brought his shoulder forward and his body weight forward. So if we look, there's less pressure on his back leg. There's more pressure in his front foot. And so therefore, by bringing that arm and grabbing the rail, it brings his body into the correct position. A lot of you surfers out there forget to do that, and that's an important part of the air maneuver. So we're going to go forward. The other thing that you may not have noticed is the fact that he's actually slid his foot, his front foot, up towards the nose, and he has a very, very wide stance. As we move through, and we can watch him rotating now, right through there, have a look at how much pressure is on the front foot, and the pressure's been released off the back foot. Moving through, this is an interesting section here where he actually looks like he's nearly taking off as a goofy foot. So if I look at this here, it's nearly as if he's in a takeoff stance and is about to drop down the face of that wave, which is something that is important as well. So it's all that body weight over the front knee. In fact, it's switch foot in this case because it's an air reverse. Moves forward through, rotates through. Now notice where his head goes. Quickly through, and he looks to where he wants to turn, which allows him to land in full balance and surf out of there, allowing him to get to another turn if need be. So I guess that's what we've got to tell you about this air maneuvers, is that there is a great technique to be used here, and you couldn't get a better exponent of that than Julian Wilson. So I hope that's helped, and we'll hear from you next time.